Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over dividing polynomials. It's very similar to dividing numbers. So the way you divide numbers back in elementary school, that's sort of how you divide polynomials as well. So let's check this out. Let's say you want to divide these two numbers, or maybe you have a fraction, right? This also means division. So a fraction can be thought of as division as well. So regardless of which situation you're in, you can rewrite this to use long division. And to use long division, we use the algorithm, right? Like the process, the steps, which was divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. We keep repeating this process until we can no longer divide the number. So here, for example, we have 32, right? We go to 35, 32 can go to 35, or 35 is divisible by 32. And it goes in there once. And so we have put a 1 on top. Then we multiply. So 1 times 32 is 32. Then afterwards we subtract, this is the third step. And then we subtract and get 3, and then we bring down the 8. So that's the 4 steps, right? So if we go back, we divide 35 and 32. So 32 goes into 35 one time. We multiply, then we subtract, and then we bring down the next number. And repeat the process, so we divide again. So 32 goes into 38 one time. We multiply 32, then we subtract. It's going to be 6, and then we bring down the 7. All right, now 67, 32 goes into 67 twice, so we repeat the process, so divide, it's twice, multiply, 2 times 32 is 64, subtract, and then we can't bring down anymore. And also 32 cannot go into 3, so we're done, right? The top is the quotient, and the 3 is going to be our remainder. All right. We use the same process to divide polynomials. I'm going to leave this up here so that we can see that it's still the same steps: divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down when working with polynomials. Okay, so let's divide our polynomials. We have a 4-term polynomial, the numerator, the denominator, we have a binomial. Make sure you write the 3x plus 2 on the outside, right? The denominator goes on the outside. So when we divide polynomials, you first want to focus in on just the first 2 terms, right? Those there. You want to divide, so how many times does 3x go into 3x to the power 3? So what you could do is do this on the side. You have 3x to the power 3. On the bottom, you have the 3x. Simplify this, so the 3's cancel, and you're left with x to the power 2. That's going to be the number that goes up here. Okay, so that's the divide part. Now we multiply. When we multiply, we're going to distribute the x squared, multiply x squared times 3x. And then afterwards, we're going to multiply x squared times 2. What does that look like? It looks like this. So we know it's x squared. We're going to multiply this out. So 3x times x squared. So it's going to give us 3x squared. And then 2 times x squared is going to be plus positive 2x squared. Notice that these two match, and that's what we want to look for. Those two need to match because next is the subtraction part, right? Once we subtract, they will cancel each other out. So we did the division, multiplication, and now subtraction part. All right, so let's subtract now. So let's see. So that's there. Now we subtract. Now be careful here because you have to put the whole thing inside parentheses. You're subtracting the whole polynomial. So when we subtract, we kind of want to tell ourselves it's 3x to the power 3 minus 3x to the power 3. And you'll see that those two are opposites, so they cancel each other out. But then you have the next one, which is 5x squared take away 2x squared, right? So 5x squared subtract 2x squared. That's going to give us a positive 3x squared. So that's the subtract part. Now we bring down the 8x. Now we repeat the whole process again. Now we divide once again. But like before, you're just looking at the first term. So you take this term, set them up separately, and divide them. So 3x squared over 3x. Simplify this. In this case, the 3's cancel, and we're left with just x. So x is going to go up top. Now that we have that, all we need to do is distribute. So we distribute the x to 3x, and then we distribute the x with the 2, and we get the following. So that's multiplication. Now we subtract, put the whole thing in subtract and parentheses and subtract. And once again, you want to read it off to help you out when you're first starting. Once you get the hang of it, you can just do it in your head, and that's fine. So we have 3x squared take away 3x squared. Again, they should match because now they eliminate each other. So these go away. And then we have 8x take away 2x. 8x take away 2x. It's going to give us 6x. Now that's the subtraction part. Now we bring down to 7. And we divide once again. So we have now 6x and 2x. Can do that on the side. 6x over 3x. Simplify this, the x's cancel, so we're left with just 2. So 2 goes on top. We're going to multiply 2 times 3x, and then 2 times 2, which is 4. Right? Again, notice that these match. That's what we're going for. That's what we're looking for. Once they match, we subtract them. 6x take away, right? So 6x take away 6x, 6x take away 6x, to be 0. 7 take away 4, which is 3. So there you go. So now we're done because 3x cannot go into 3. Okay, you can double check that. You have 3 here. You have 3x, right? There's no x on top to cancel with this x in the bottom. So once you get to this point and you are finished, there's nothing else to bring down also. Now we can rewrite this. The quotient is the top part, right? So it's x squared plus x plus 2. That's our quotient. And later on we'll get to notation, but you can write this as q of x, right? So that we give that the name q of x. Q of x is equal to x squared plus x plus 2. Q stands for quotient in this case. Our remainder in this case is 3. You can also write that as a polynomial, which is rx equals 3. We'll get into the details of that later. But there you go. That's how you divide polynomials. It's very similar to how you divide numbers. There are other methods for dividing polynomials, and we'll get to those later on. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe and share the video. All right, see you next time.